There's a budget with updated financials and copies of the meeting minutes from our fall meeting in September. We're just getting set up here, so it'll just be a second. But if you haven't signed in, we'll pass around the clipboard. You can please sign in so we have that for our meeting minutes. And just, make yourself at home. We have some special guests today. But if you want to say hello to anybody you haven't met before, feel free to do that now. Are we good?
You're on.
Well, are we live?
You're live.
We're live. Okay, welcome. Welcome to our winter BSCO community meeting, the second meeting of the year. Thank you for coming and thank you for watching on the live stream before or after. I am Taylor Cash. I'm the current president of the Bonnie Slope Community Organization. I have a third grader here at Bonnie Slope, so it's my third year actually in the community. So yeah, your dreams can come true. Within 2 years, you can rocket to the top, to the presidency without any problems. You just need to be able to say yes. But I'm going to call the meeting to order. And so there's secretary's draft of the meeting minutes from the fall are on the table, and they've been posted online. Does anyone have any corrections to the minutes as distributed? Anybody? All right, so can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the fall meeting? Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Heather. All right, so today we've got a packed agenda, so we're going to get moving. This evening I've got a guest from the Beaverton School District, who is the Safe Routes to School Coordinator. Leah Beato Luis is here, and she is coming to talk to us about if you could move to the next slide, the Safe Routes to School, but also to talk to us about our performance in the Walk to School Day back in the fall. We were, I guess, champions of some sort, so welcome, Leah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. So yes, I'm the District Safe Routes to School Coordinator. This position has previously been a contracted position, but this year the district decided to assume the grants that fund this position, and it was enough money to fund myself as a full-time coordinator, and we also have a part-time coordinator, Linda Feldhen. So let's start off with the great news. You had such an awesome turnout for your fall International Walk and Roll to School Day. I have a new thing that we started this year. We're these walk and roll champions. So each month we recognize a school, an individual, or a group who's promoting safe, active travel for their community. And we recognized your school for having such a tremendous turnout. I wrote my notes on the slide and now I can't see it, but I think it was something like 96, 98% of your school participated. So that was just amazing. I think you had something like around a 46% increase of your normative rate. So basically we take data in the spring every year from all schools. It's just a hand-raised tally in their classrooms of how they normally kind of travel to school. We do it 2 separate days during the week, how they get to school, how they go home. And from that data, it gives us kind of a baseline of how kids are coming and going to school. And then on event days, we like to do kind of a comparison to see what kind of change we can get when we kind of band together as a community and promote active travel to school. So this is to your whole school. Congratulations. I think we can go to the next slide. Oh, perfect. Thank you. So I just wanted to give a quick, I'll be brief, background on what is Safe Routes to School, why do we have a Safe Routes to School program for our district. We're all about creating safe, convenient, fun opportunities for youth to walk or roll to and from school. And when we say roll, we are including bikes, skateboards, scooters, and buses. Our number one goal is to decrease the amount of single car trips that are made to and from school. We see in our district basically 30% of students are driven to school. That's an extra 12,000 cars on the road every single day just driving kids to and from school. Those 12,000 cars drive an extra 2 miles, basically, is the estimate to drop off and pick up students, which contributes 23,500 pounds of carbon emissions into our environment. So that's kind of, we're trying to increase both the health of the students. You know, research shows that students are 20% more, basically better prepared to learn when they're active on their way to school. We know that physical activity is obviously important for physical health for our students, but also our community health with those benefits to the environment. The other thing we do is, this is kind of talking, there's your kids who are active, 20% better, there's our 12,000 cars, talking about the physical activity. But let's see, where was I? So that's kind of the benefits for why we have these programs in the district and what we're about. Okay, so I just kind of did a graph. We are looking at basically 2016, 2018, 2019, your normative rates. You see aren't making a whole lot of change, and then on our event days, right, you see this huge, you know, you've got 60% of kids walking, you've got, I forget what it is, but about 38% of the students are on the bus, and I think you only have like 4% or something traveling by car on your event day. So my goal is, how do we get our normative rates to increase and not just on event days? So some of the things that we help and encourage and assist schools to do are action plans. You have an action plan. It's, I believe, from 2012. So it could be used to be updated. An action plan is basically a guiding document. It's created with your community and your principal support. And we audit your walking routes, we look at your parking lot safety, and basically come up with recommendations, whether it's with the city or county improving maybe sidewalks and access to walking and biking, or maybe it's programmatic recommendations. The other thing we do is we work with schools on hosting monthly events. So instead of just, you know, one event in the fall and one in the spring, we do have a handful of schools who hold like a walk and bike day on the first Wednesday. They call it Walking Wednesdays. Or we have some schools who do a weekly walking school bus. And if you're unfamiliar with what a walking school bus is, basically parents or teachers meet a group of students at a destination, and parents can drop those kids off at that destination, and then they can all walk together to school. It's a way to encourage them to walk, but you know, if parents are reluctant because of safety or don't want them walking on their own, it's a way to gather a group of students together. Finally, we're aiming for a Ride Your Bus campaign. We typically see about 25% of students who are offered a bus aren't riding it. We know that bus is actually the safest way to travel, and it eliminates about 36 cars on the road for every busload of kids. Another idea that I just read about this year was COCO for carpools. It's a way to increase carpooling. You know, maybe giving out cocoa one day and just encouraging families to figure out how could they maybe carpool to school. And finally, bike ferries or wheel ferries. That's just attaching like a little note. I know at some schools they hold a week and they say the bike ferry may come someday this week, you don't know which day. And then you see all the kids showing up with their bikes or scooters or skateboards, hoping to get a prize that week. So another way to just encourage. That's all my slides. Sorry. Press it this way. Finally, we are starting to think about our big May walk and roll event. It's another similar event to the fall, although schools do opt to do some different things. Basically, the first thing that's going to happen at your school, we did roll out a new district-wide pedestrian bicycle education plan. We're super excited to offer now pedestrian bicycle safety lessons district-wide '85, and your school is one of the first schools to receive it this year. So you're slated for an April date. Basically, we push into PE time, and it takes depending on school size, a week or less, to reach every student at the school. And they're basically learning all those skills needed to travel, whether by walking or bike or scooter or skateboard around their neighborhoods. April's the perfect time for you because it'll set you up for May, and all those students will have those freshly learned skills and practice them in class, and be ready to walk safely around their neighborhoods. We're holding an art contest right now at schools, K-5. Classrooms participate with their teacher. Their teachers have that information. They're basically creating artwork showing how they walk and roll safely to school. Grand winner is going to be our art on our poster for the May event district-wide, as well as some fun prizes. So registration is always usually through Safe Routes. Schools have basically three ways of participating. One is just to hold a big event day similar to the fall. Some schools opt to do what we call a May Challenge month, where they're tracking the whole month long, and maybe they have, like at Sexton, they have a primary and an intermediate grade level winner class that had the most students the whole month that were walking or rolling to school. We are always available to help with planning. We can assist with your event. We provide prizes, whether that's big raffle prizes or smaller incentives to give to everybody. We are, again, making a big campaign for students riding their buses to be included. So we'll have bus-specific incentives like stickers that say "I rode the bus" that we'll be giving to schools this year. Questions about all of that? Anything? Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Where's our pencil? Is that so for there?
Yes.
Welcome our principal and vice principal.
I don't know, do I? All right. The last time we got together, especially for the principal chat, I don't know if you remember, we talked a lot about the Student Success Act and the money that Beaverton School District would be receiving. I wanted to give you a little bit of an update on that, and then Jim and I will talk a little bit about report cards and what's been happening. And so, I don't know, is this working?
Not working? All right. Just tell me next
Or
slide.
I can't figure out an arrow. I don't know.
Okay, I'll just.
Okay. So, just a little bit of a review. The Student Success Act is a way in which school districts can apply for grant money, and it has to fall, if you're going to receive money, it has to fall under 4 of these different categories, either to reduce class size, improve your education so it's more well-rounded, increase instructional time, and health and safety. There was a survey, and in Beaverton School District, they received about 4,000 responses, and that includes group responses, so if you'll the next slide. And almost consistently, every group, it didn't matter which group was polled, answered that their top 3 categories were class size being number 1, and then a more well-rounded, expanded activities or well-rounded education, and then behavioral health. And this was very consistent, and so we hired an outside agency to take all of the responses and to tally them and determine what Beaverton, the respondents to the survey said, and then they are charged with creating a request for funds through the grant of the SSA, and the next slide will be our timeline. So just so you know, I was part of a workforce in February to determine how some of this money would be spent. And in February, the goal is to create a plan for the request of grant funds. And then in March, they'll submit their application. In April, it's presented to ODE. And then in May and June, there will be a public review of the school board and the approval of these funds. And you'll notice that the finalized grant agreement isn't until July 2020, which I share this because I think that we all have this feeling that budget times, maybe the next budget is going to be much easier. But the truth of the matter is we will not know if we have been given these funds until July 2020. But knowing Beaverton, I mean, we do a pretty good job. We do our homework, we follow rules, and we just won't have the final say until July. All right. Are there any questions about the Student Success Act? All right.
I'm going to move over so I'm in camera.
Oh, great.
The next bit is us talking a little bit about what's happening at Bonnie Slope. And we decided to focus on Kindness Week. Actually, February will be Kindness Month at Bonnie Slope. One of the things that impressed me was this kindness focus of our school. Every once in a while, I get a student that I get to spend some extra time with in my office, and we process certain behaviors. And one of my questions is, what's a rule at Bonnie Slope that you might have broken after what happened? And almost every student, I've heard it in Janet's office, I've heard it in my office, they all say, be kind. And that is such an empowering thing that our students are really receiving that message. So we want to celebrate that with Kindness Week. And so after our assembly next Friday, not this Friday, but next Friday, the next week is going to be Kindness Week. You may have noticed when you came up today on the stairs, there's little kindness sayings. Mrs. Williamson, our student success coach, who has wonderful handwriting, made all of these signs and has pretty much stopped stair traffic because all the kids are reading all of these kind things as we're trying to move anywhere. But she has done that. So you're going to see different kindness things popping up in our school. But for this week, we're going to have Kindness Week. So Monday, shine bright with kindness, wear brighter neon colors. Tuesday, tied together by kindness, wear a tie ribbon or tie-dye clothing. Wednesday, team kindness, wear sports gear, favorite team colors or kindness shirt. Thursday, kindness rocks, dress up like a rock star. And if your kids don't know who a rock star is, they can dress like me. I'm very much a rock star. No. And then Friday, dream of kindness, wear pajamas or comfy clothing. And it's just a way to celebrate being kind and keep on driving that message home for our students because it is resonating with them. I think you're next.
All right, speaking of kindness, gee, I feel like I'm on a game show. Speaking of kindness, if your child's teacher seems extra tired this week, it's a good time to be kind to them. Report cards is a big thing for teachers. It takes far more than the day off that they get to work on report cards. But that being said, please note that this is not your child's childhood report card. We grade our students and provide grades for end of the year targets. In other words, if your child isn't where they should be in June, then they will not get a proficient grade. That is different than when we were in school. And when I was in school, my mom and dad would always know if I'm hanging in there with the pack based on the grade that I was getting at that time. That is not how we grade in Oregon. Our standards-based learning is a goal, is the end of the year goals. If your child has a 3, that means that they are meeting at the end of the year standard. If they have a 4, that means that they are beyond the end of the year standard significantly in order to get a 4. So expect that for most students, most of their report card will be a 2, saying they are on their way to proficiency, but they're not quite there to June. Are there any questions about that?
All right. So talking a little bit about our backpack program, we send backpacks home every Friday filled with food that we've been gathering for donations. And one of the things that we've noticed over the past few weeks is that we had some repetitive food happening in our food bank. I think we had a donation from Pacific Foods that we have been unpacking, and it's been a lot of the same food. So if you walk into our food pantry, you see a lot of the same products. So one of our hopes is within the next couple of months for 5th grade to have our 5th grade leadership to sponsor a food drive where we start collecting different types of foods like we used to have That doesn't mean that you can't start sending some extra food right now. We will take any kind of donations we can get. But be on the lookout for 5th grade to do a little food drive so that we can jazz up our food pantry and go into the end of the year. And I think Janet's going to talk a little bit about safety.
All right. In the last week, our crossing guard, once again, the flag is being hit by cars. Not kids, but our flag. And what's happening is that cars are driving around the cars waiting in line to come into the school. We're thinking that maybe it's not Bonnie Slope parents. Because they're trying to get around the school, they're not trying to get to the school. And at the principal chat, we're brainstorming ideas. One of them being if there is another person in your car that can operate a phone camera to maybe get a picture of the car. Our SRO in Washington County have said that they would send people out to, like the sheriff's department, to go out and try to give tickets, but the truth is it's not the same time, and it's not always the same car, so if we can get pictures, maybe we can give them a warning. The other one was maybe to borrow a GoPro for Kim Howell. And so she can make a video. I'm all for that. I personally think that's a great idea. So, but help us if you can get a license plate, or heaven forbid, if you're one of those cars that are in huge trouble as far as meeting a timeline, please know that we're really fortunate that our crossing guards are holding kids until they know it's safe and they can see cars coming around. But as they're coming around, you know, that it's not a guarantee that they're going to always see cars that are breaking the law. So tell your neighbors and keep an eye out for these cars. Yes?
Do you think it'd be worth, on the carrot side, that's the stick side, to have the neighboring HOAs send out emails? I mean, have we ever?
I have never reached out to the HOAs. I guess I don't always assume that they're from our neighborhood, that maybe they're going somewhere, but that's a really good suggestion. That's a really good suggestion. I will do that. Any others? Questions? And one last thing about kindness. We want to say thank you to the teacher appreciation moms and all of the volunteers that continue to bring food. I have
amazing.
to speak for all of us. It's like the highlight of our day. And our most recent breakfast was just amazing.
It was.
So,
Thank you.
all right. I believe that our guest 5th graders and 4th graders. Nope, they're not next. All right. So, not to make you nervous.
We didn't strategize this well, I will admit. But we do have another guest speaker. Mr. Basham, who is one of our 5th grade teachers, is going to come up and share a little bit about what these guys are going to be experiencing in March. So he's been instrumental in putting together the science school program with trackers, I believe. And so you're going to talk about what the experience was for last year's 5th grade class.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for being here, everybody. So just a little bit of background about what we did last year. The Beaverton School District has changed their policy with elementary overnight field trips, and so instead of doing overnight field trips, we're looking at 2 day trips, and so that's what we put together for last year. It was the first time doing that. So this learning experience, science school, really supports our 2 of our units of inquiry and 5th grade learning targets for ecosystems and engineering and design and science inquiry. So they're getting a lot of hands-on experience. If you go to the next slide, there's some pictures. We spend one of our days at Mary S. Young Park down near Wilsonville, and Westland. Investigating the ecosystems there, the animal signs left from beavers, and we learn more about the ecology and how beavers help their ecosystems. And then students get an opportunity to build dams on the beach of the Willamette River and test them and see how well they hold water. And so they're learning the principles of engineering and design and then applying them to building and creating something themselves. You can see, and then the next day we actually head out to kind of just east of Sandy, and there's a chance for them on this big piece of property for them to build survival shelters. So they take what they learned the first day about how beavers build structures, and then they go through the engineering and design process several times. So they build a structure, they test how waterproof it is by dumping a bunch of water on it and measuring how much actually gets through. They measure the temperature inside versus outside, and they do that several times so that they can be refining and improving on their designs. It's a great way to get them really hands-on in the learning and like modeling that engineering and design process, so they can feel like scientists in the field doing this with the help of the wonderful staff at Trackers as well. And so one of the things we were trying to do this year that we learned from last year is you can kind of see in a few of these pictures, there are about 14 students per group. And that's a lot when it's like half a class, really, is what it boils down to. And they had a great experience last year, and it was awesome. However, as teachers, we knew that it could be improved, and that just managing the group sizes and making them smaller would be so beneficial to students and getting them participating more and everybody getting an opportunity to really feel like they were part of it. So we have been trying to work with Trackers to get more staff available. Right now we're at about the level of staff that would make it about 10 students per group, but the reason I think for this special vote is so that we can get it down to about 7 students per group, so that every student really gets a chance to, you know, really show their knowledge of the learning concepts and take part in all the activities, and can really show all that they've learned throughout the 2 days, and just get more of an opportunity to participate than they would if there were just less staff members from Trackers supporting this. So that it just makes a really big difference from a teaching perspective, knowing that you have really small groups. Kids are more focused in those small groups, and I think everybody just has a lot more fun because they're more engaged and hands-on in the activities. So yeah, that's my perspective. Thanks a lot for having me. And
Thank you.
yeah. Are there any questions? Do you have any questions that I can answer for you if you're curious?
We're going to continue the conversation.
Okay, great.
So Heather, come on up. We're going to talk numbers. So we're going to get to another part of the discussion with the BSCO business here. So this budget for 2019-2020 was approved back in May, and we used the information that we kind of had at the time. And as Mr. Basham had spoke, once we moved forward and we looked at trying to actually cut the ratios in half, the costs are greatly increased. So right now, we do not have sufficient allocation for this year's program to fully fund it for a couple of different reasons. Instead of trying to put that on the 5th grade families to bridge the gap, we're coming to the community to cover the costs for the 5th grade science school. So we're looking at increasing our line item in the budget from $8,500 to $14,900 total. That amount would include whatever we get from the pancake breakfast income. So it's a line item in terms of what would be going out from BSCO. So it doesn't really matter. We could have a really great stellar pancake breakfast, which we will have, and that will help. But we need to, the line item needs to account for what we have going out to cover that. So there's it breaks down into 2 ways. The $6,400 is the increase that we're asking for. Part of that is to cover the program costs, like Mr. Basham talked about, to reduce that ratio from staff to students to 1 to 7.
But also just the overall cost, even if we didn't decrease the ratio, the cost went up significantly for the Trackers program. So part of it, even within that, is just the program increase from last year.
And then the other piece of the pie is, we talked about a little bit at principal chat. There is a district-wide bus driver shortage within Beaverton School District, and it's affecting spring sports, it's affecting a lot of different things. So Beaverton School District transportation is not available to us for science school, so we do have to charter a bus, and that increases the cost by over $2,000. So the bottom line is we want to increase the budget line item by $6,400 to cover the program costs, to make it the experience more equitable among all the students so they all get that hands-on experience. And then also to cover the bus. Yep. So if you go to the next slide, the bottom line is, can we do it? And so the increase of the $6,400 would be covered by our fundraiser income. So far this year, we've been excelling at fundraising. We will continue, I'm sure, through auction. We also anticipate pancake breakfast could do well. So that could also reduce our overall spending in terms of pancake breakfast. But other line items within the budget are not necessarily spending full amounts. So like Monster Mash came in $500 under. So the net spend might be less overall, but we still are asking to change the bottom line. And we're fortunate that this community is generous and it's sufficient for us to be able to cover those costs either with our fundraising this year or through our savings that we have. Am I missing anything?
I think you hit it all.
Okay,
Hit all the highlights.
so nitty gritty.
Yeah.
We've got ballots.
Here.
Has a yes and a no vote. So we're going to distribute those along with pencils. A yes means you support the change. A no means you don't. If you could. Yeah, that's in here. Yeah. So take a moment, decide. Oh, if there's any questions, shout them out. If anybody needs a pencil or pen. Sorry. Raise your hand if you need a ballot. We will come find you. We're going to move forward as we're processing the vote so we can move the meeting forward so we can hear from our lovely students. But raise your hand if you need anything and then they'll go around to collect it. So let's move on. I'm just going to touch briefly on some of the educator-directed funds that BSCO provides, just so to catch you up to speed. The teacher funds, every full-time teacher gets $450 to do with what they will. Every half-time teacher gets $250. So they've already exhausted 5,000 of the 16 available, so it's moving. We have mature grants that were part of the budget this year. There's 6 of them. A mature grant means that they were successful for multiple years in a row. They don't have to be reapproved annually. They're built into the budget. And then we evaluate them in the spring to see if people want to continue with that. So you can see the ones that are there. So far this year, we have 3 new grants that have been approved. The first one was from Tiffany Sidwell-Rogers. Sidwell. And she submitted a grant for Calming Classrooms. And that is funding a social emotional learning resource library. She was recognizing that students are coming into the classroom with more stressors than ever. And so it's helpful to have, they need to take breaks, calm down, come back to the classroom to refocus. And it's helpful for the teachers to have a space within the classroom and have resources to help students refocus and reduce stress. And that benefits the community overall. So every classroom has the ability to access the resource library that she's building. Also, we had a Spelling City grant that was put together from some 2nd, 3rd, and 5th grade teachers, led by our Mrs. Susan Acosta, and that is looking at piloting a program for this online learning tool that helps reach targets in language and spelling, and it allows teachers to hone in on individual needs within a group or an individual students, and they can track the progress over time. So we look forward to seeing how that panned out towards the end of the year. Now, the main event. We had Salmon Tank, which was funded in the fall by BSCO, and it was a grant used to set up the Salmon Tank for the 4th and 5th grade teams. The grant enabled students to build a ecosystem and to learn more about the complete and complex life cycle of the salmon. We had little baby salmon, and so we have some guests today to tell us more about that whole experience and what they learned. And so we have some 5th grade students with us today. Please welcome Annie Kinzer, Ruby Ford, Taylor Nieto, Maddie Vong, Oliver Bilton, and Ishan Ranjit. You guys want to just, stand in the front here. So do you know your order? Yeah. All right. If any parent doesn't want their child on the live stream, just raise your hand and we'll adjust. But they're adorable. Okay, so take it away.
BSCO supported salmon education. Our 4th and 5th graders learned a lot. The things that we did with our salmon, the things that we learned with them, and the things that we can do. Each stage of the salmon life cycle has a unique set of challenges. As we learned about the challenges our fish would face, we created a game and coded Ozobots to attempt to live out the life of a salmon. This is how we learned about salmon and learned how to code Ozobots. We got to go into Mr. Anderson's 3rd grade class and teach his students how to code them so he could use them for a project in their unit as well.
Did you know that only 1% of salmon actually make it to live to the spawning stage, and they have so many obstacles to overcome? We couldn't believe that out of our 185 eggs, only 1 or 2 of them would actually make it to live to the spawning stage. Our teachers led us through a simulation showing how many salmon actually make it to the spawning stage and all the obstacles they have to overcome.
We learned that salmon's body parts have specific important functions. We learned about the anatomy of a salmon through an art lesson. Every part of the fish's body is important. Did you know that salmon have a lateral line down the side of their body that works with their eyes, ears, and sensory system? They use it to detect water pressure, prey, predators, sense current movement, and it helps them to avoid collision.
We had to do a lot to the water to make the best environment for our salmon. We had to take out the bad water when the ammonia levels were too high, and we had to lower the pH every time we added new water, because the tap water was a higher pH than the salmon like.
The river's ecosystem is better at regulating the water quality than humans are. Since rivers and streams are constantly moving, they filter the ammonia and keeps the oxygen levels high. These were all things we had to watch and keep stable. We tried to create our own filters to see if we could clean the water the way nature does. We use the engineer and designing processes to build our filters. We learned a lot, like nature's way better at filtering the water than we are. We were all surprised that unlike the fish in our classroom, we did not need to feed the fish once they hatched. Their egg sac stays as they're attached and is used as their food source. Once they ate all their food, we knew that our fish were no longer alive and that our fry could be released.
It's a replacement video. The other video wasn't working. So,
There they are.
there's a little.
So they're almost to a stage that we call button death. You guys know? Can you tell them what button death is?
Yeah, but that was when their egg sacs were gone, where they're almost gone. Yeah. So their stomach looked like it was we had to estimate the day we were going to release them. We calculated the graph and decided to release the salmon on January 18th. This process caused us to use our math skills. These are the papers. These show some of the things we did.
We can teach others about what we learned, and we've also been doing this throughout our unit. We have taught others about the importance of protecting our environment, how to use some of the robots for our learning, how to use a chemistry set to check our water quality, and how important it is to remember to share our planet with other living things. We can make changes to the river. Our choices and actions can either hurt or help the environment. Christmas trees can be put in the river to help slow the flow to help young salmon thrive. But the plastics and other garbage we throw away can find its way into our rivers and damage all the waste that our stuff creates. What we buy impacts the environment, and we should think about what we purchase and if there are any better alternatives. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. You worked really hard on that. Thank you. And we've got Mrs. Ort, who is our fourth grade teacher. So the fourth grade also had a different aspect with the salmon tank that met all the targets.
I hope that you guys got to see all the different BSCO purchase items in this slideshow. The water kits, the microscopes to look at the waters. Just there's so many different things that we were able to draw from our resources. Kids were talking about the environment, and this is Jen Klinger releasing the little salmon. And if you notice near the water, there's a whole lot of plastic everywhere. We looked around and thought, our babies are going home with the plastic. And that really got us thinking, wow, there's so many ways that we could take this unit. So you got to hear from 5th grade. We decided to go on this wacky tangent because it really covers 4th and 5th grade targets really well. And got a hold of somebody who trusted us, and we had a donated tank, and we said, why not? Let's just do this. We approached it differently in 4th grade. We have personal inquiry time in 4th grade, and that's when you're done with your work and you think, what am I really wondering about? And to introduce this in our classroom, I said, you know what, guys, we're going to get some salmon eggs. I don't know a thing about them. Can you go figure out the life cycle of the salmon? And kids who were finished with their work said, yeah, and went off and just started creating things. And then I'd show a little video, and what did you find out? And where do they come from? What is a fish hatchery? And they'd go off and research. And pretty soon, just this enormous amount of information was overflowing our classroom. And it's overflowing over there right now. It's actually been in a box for a while because we did this at the beginning of the school year. So prior to receiving these baby eggs, our class was really informed on the life cycle, all the challenges that a salmon has to go through, just all kinds of environmental issues, and they just generated this amazing inquiry. So when the fish actually came, it was just the most amazing thing. So thank you so much for your support. It's just been a great adventure, and I imagine next year will be even better. Thank you. Do you have any questions about our nutty things?
I would like to know, I think this is the plan moving forward, right?
Oh, for sure, we'll
So
do it again.
BSCO, this year there was a grant and some educational support funds that used to kind of set it up, and now this is something that can be part of the curriculum for 4th and 5th grade, and I think it's awesome. I used to go look at them as they were growing, and I don't even have a 4th or 5th grader. But
we found it really helped their social and emotional well-being because we just stare at them. So now we have fish in other places in the building. So.
And I think we have a video of the release.
I do. I'm not sure if we have an Apple TV set up, but if you want to see the babies going away, I have it on there.
Thank you. Fun by BSCO. All right, so next. So we, as a board, put together a survey, and we shared it with the community to collect feedback on how the PTO is doing in serving our kids and our school and our community. We really want to better understand, what's going well and where we can improve. So we recognize this is a large community, a diverse group, and we really think it's important to give every voice the opportunity to be heard, and this was a way to do that. So I want to show you, we're going to go through it, we're going to take a look at all the information. We want to thank everybody that did participate. We had 100 people in the community over the last 2.5, 3 weeks that participated in the survey. Thank you. Tonight, all I'm going to be doing is doing a high-level review of what we have seen. I think it closed, well, I didn't even really close it, but we looked at it through Monday. So I'm just going to touch on the primary areas of the feedback on a high level. We'll get together and we'll look more in depth, and we'll follow up probably with a blog post with some more detailed information. And as we dive deeper, we're going to look and see what actions can we take and what can we do to address some of the feedback. And hopefully we'll bring something back at the listening session with some specific ideas to the community and develop them to see what we can move forward with. So for those of you who somehow missed the survey, it was 7 questions basically. 6 of them were multiple choice, touching on the primary areas that BSCO is related to. Depending on how you answered, you might add a follow-up question as well, but I'll go through quickly the 7 questions, but basically we know that people are, maybe 60% were aware of our quarterly schedule for these meetings. Almost universally, people were okay with that cadence. We do have the ability to add meetings as needed. And then of the 25% who said they didn't know or don't go, primary reasons for that are time. You know, it's hard in the evening to find the time, or childcare. So those are kind of common, that's consistent roadblocks in that area. So we got the message, email rules the world when it comes to information, we know that. And we got some feedback on what people support as far as fundraising. I'm not there yet. And we got great suggestions about revisions, and we identified areas where we can grow and continue to improve. So first, well, not the first question, but when we ask people about communication, clearly, you know, email is always a winner. Whether it's the BSCO newsletter, which comes out every other week from the office to everybody at the school, or our paw prints, which is done from the administration, which is a nice little tag team. What I thought was interesting, though, is that, let's see, how many? Over half of the people that responded listed 3 or more avenues of communication that they prefer, and they're not the same ones. So we do have benefit into using these other methods of communication. We'll always use email as primary, but like our website archives things, so you can it's a resource. You can search for information as you need it. Our social media, the Facebook and Instagram, provides that kind of real-time information and can provide you like a little bit of a snapshot of what's going on. So it's good to use these multiple methods. And then next, so fundraising, almost universally, people support the enrichment efforts directed at our kids, which are the things that you see in the classroom, and then before or after school. They enhance their education, their experience. 2/3 of people support the educator-directed funds, like that's not my idea, the salmon tank. When we put money into the hands of the educators, they know where the need is, and they can direct that in a way that we would never be able to. And then 55% support bringing technology. So the 70% is the second line down is the educator-directed funds. Just didn't show up there. As far as tech, for those of you who are not aware, you know, leading up to the last several years, BSCO was really instrumental in getting tech into the hands of our kids before the district made it a guidance in their future ready team for the 1-to-1 device ratio. BSCO has done a lot to bring the projector revamp and bringing Apple TVs into the school. So we are really set up well because of the efforts that BSCO's done in the years past as far as tech goes at this point. And then about half of the respondents supported the funding of the major community events like Monster Mash and Carnival and things like that. Also, to be aware, we are currently funding those out of our successful fundraising efforts. In the past, they were funded by a fee at the door. The community response has been really strong when we have the available resources to make that free to the community. So again, and capital improvements, those are ideas that typically are coming from the school in terms of what we can do to help enhance the physical nature of the school. One of the ideas that maybe we could look at is improving the track surface. I know Mr. Whitehead would love to have it a little more elementary school kid friendly. If you're ever at Jogathon, you're just waiting for that turn at the bottom and how many kids are going to go down. But 90% of people listed, you know, 2 or more things areas that they support strongly for fundraising. It's not always the same thing. Again, we all have different priorities, but the goal of BSCO is to really, where those priorities meet and align, fund those as the primary measures, and then as we have funding available, like the community events, we can do that. All right, so looking at program reviews, 1/3 of the people had no comment on any changes, which is fine. We provided 4 options to pick from, and there was an open-ended item as well. So the biggest response was really STEM. I mean, people love STEM. So some of the ideas, you know, were like more STEM in the classroom, more art and science, more STEM-based projects or classes after school, et cetera. The second big winner was community outreach, and Katie's going to talk a little bit about what we have going on for community outreach. But 75% of the people that wanted more community outreach, they want to be a part of more events, and more events like outside of business hours, which is what typically happens because of the way that the outreach events are set up. People want more family nights. They want to hang out with their kids and families and socialize. So things like our movie night and in those casual environments where people can make connections and get to know each other. And also some new family welcome events, helping those new families connect and make those long-term relationships that they'll move forward with. Some other write-in options where people want to see, arts and drama, or music performance, things of that nature. In terms of improvements, 42% didn't have anything to say. That's fine with us. 15% really wanted to see more inclusion, and it's hard to break into the community, looking for some more openness. I mean, it's difficult to get the lay of the land when your kids start elementary school or when you move to a new area. It is tough, and we can all benefit more from, taking our circles and opening them up to horseshoes and giving room for people to join in. 12% wanted to see some different programming, something new. I mean, even the best recipe gets old after a while, right? So sometimes people are looking for us to mix it up or do something a little bit different. And then some people like to talk about money more. And so either like on the blog on a regular basis or at the community meetings, kind of getting into the numbers a little bit more. Also, some people would appreciate help figuring out volunteering more, where to start, what's the best entry point. Help me help you. And we want to do that, obviously. So speaking of volunteering, we've talked before, this community is really rich in resources and time. And we recognize that people who are going to fill out a survey are probably pretty engaged and might be volunteering already. And that's over half of the people, so we get that. But we also want to look at what are the ways that people might be feeling held back from volunteering. And we recognize that sometimes it's just practical factors, that's 25%, you just can't make it work. But, and maybe 11% were like, hey, we're just trying to get through the day with the small kids in the house. And we've all been there, so we understand that. But those other small slivers, add up. And so what we're interested in is evaluating areas that can be influenced, so the people who want to connect or volunteer are better able to do that. So I'm going to wrap it up, I swear. We had 6 multiple choice, but a lot of open-ended options in there, and then open comments. So we did receive a lot of positive comments, and that's great. We want to know where BSCO you feel like is on target or what we're doing well. But we also received a lot of specific comments in an area where there is opportunity for growth, and that's really valuable information. We're going to be reading each and every comment on there when we get together as a board. And some of the areas of those comments are covered here on the slide. And so we will pull out the major themes, and we'll highlight some areas where we can commit to making some tangible changes in the future. So again, thank you for taking the time. We do appreciate your information. And let's get to the more exciting aspect of tonight, which is our vote. So I believe the results are in. And we have a unanimous approval. So, no? All right, so it has been adopted. So we will be moving forward with the change to the line item for the science school funding, and thank you guys for supporting that. I know it makes for a wonderful experience for our 5th graders to wrap up their time at Bonnie Slope. All right, so next, just to wrap it up, we do have 2, so the board positions, if anybody's not aware, are really an annual commitment. So we vote on all the board positions every May. It's open that you can stay in the position for 2 years. I'm told that the 2nd year is so much easier, right? That's what they tell me. But we have 2 people who are 2 positions that are on their 2nd year now, so they will not be on the board coming in the fall. And so those are Katie and the director of committees, and Michelle and Stephanie, director of volunteers, so they can touch base or when they get up here and talk. But if you have information, if you're at all interested, you can go on the website, there's information there, or you can reach out to our secretary and he can send you some info. There's an online application that you would fill out. So, all right, I think we're on to Karen. Welcome. That's just my stuff. Okay.
Hi everyone. For those that don't know me, I'm Karen Reese, the VP of fundraising. And as we've mentioned before, at BSCO, we only do certain fundraisers. We don't ask people to go sell things door to door or do anything else like that. We knocked it out of the park with the Jogathon. We raised $74K. Our next our next fundraiser is the pancake breakfast. That has a goal of 3.5K. That's coming up on February 8th. and tickets are on sale until February 5th. Then our next big fundraiser is the auction coming up on Saturday, the April 18th. This is going to be at a new venue, which we have not had it at before. It's going to be a Roaring 20s, celebrate 2020, or the Roaring 20s, party like it's 1920. So that'll be a lot of fun. It'll have live auction, silent auction. It'll have raffles, and even an after auction dance party for those people who want to extend the evening.
After party?
Yeah. And then we also we have matching gifts. Our goal right now is 22K, and we've already brought in 11,500 from that already. We're hoping to get the rest after the auction. And then we also have box tops. Next slide. So coming up on Saturday, the 8th is the pancake breakfast, and this funds the 5th grade science school. And I wanted to give a special thanks to the co-chairs of Hannah Donahue, Jenna Dornblester, and Jessica Giebler. And there's some information about the pancake breakfast. The tickets are on sale online through Thursday, the 5th. And they're also available at the door on the actual date. And all attendees are encouraged to wear flannel, pajamas, or anything cozy and comfortable. And it's
fun flannel. Flapjacks, flannel. It'll be fun and amazing. Timber Joy's coming.
All right.
That's right. Oh, and I should also say that we also are going to have an espresso custom coffee cart. Yes, that's an additional $4. Everything will be, any drink that you get there. They also offer smoothies are $4. So that's an addition if you want that. And we are also this year, instead of sausage was so last decade, we are having bacon. So yes, please come. It's going to be a ton of fun. There's going to be a photo booth. There's a raffle, $5 a ticket. We're excited.
Hannah, is it cash or credit card for coffee and smoothie?
So I know, great question. Technically, it needs to be cash or check. That's easiest for us. But we can always make something happen. Okay. You can Venmo that.
Right, and then some more about the auction. We've already sent out the save the dates, and tickets will go on sale in late February. We'll have early bird tickets available then, which will be a significant savings. And we're still in need of some help. We already had a lot of volunteers sign up, so that's been awesome. And thank you everyone who's already signed up to help. But we still need some sponsors. So if you have any connections to a business that could be a sponsor, or a business that can donate items, please let us know. Just contact us at the auction at Bonnie State. And we are definitely also in need of some people to help call some of the prior donors of some businesses that donated in the past. So if you're willing to make even just 3 phone calls or so, just certainly let us know. It'll help and help us get some more items, so that way we can fund more of these great items for the school. And we're also, where the sign-up parties are one of the best parts of the auction. And we need some hosts for the adult and family parties. A lot of the hosts from before want to host again, but we want also some new types of parties. So if you're someone who loves to host and can get together with some friends and think of a party that people would want to attend, just let us know. And Rachana is putting that together. Also, if you have a vacation rental or you have hotel connections, or you're a season ticket holder, please let us know. These kinds of items will usually go for quite a lot for our live auction. And for student auction art, thanks to everyone who's already signed up to help for that. We now have all grades covered except kindergarten. So for those kindergarten parents who are interested in helping, these always go for a lot at the live auction. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of veteran parents who are definitely willing to help and guide you and tell you what are some ideas that have been used in the past. The next slide. All right, thanks everyone.
Guys, we're like salmon, and there's a 1% chance that you're going to make it to the end of this presentation without falling asleep. So I will cruise through it. I'm Katie Comer. I'm the Director of Committees, and this is my second to last community meeting. I am looking for a replacement, and I just want to let you know that these positions are a lot of fun. They are manageable. I work full-time. It's a lot of emailing, but it's also a lot of meeting people and getting to know the administration and the teachers and other parents and getting involved and being creative if you want to be, or doing the exact same thing that's been done for the last 5 years if you want to. So anyone who's interested, including, I know I have some fans online, please call me. I am going to be at Bonnie Slope for many years. I will be here to help the person who takes over, so it's fun. And I will now showcase all the committees that you get to help with. Back. Geo Club, everybody knows it. It's, Africa Part 1, get amped. That is this week. Art Lit, they are going through and they are doing amazing work with our kids, and I'm sure you have art coming home from these artists that they're learning about. And Art Lit is one of those that needs a lot of volunteers because, especially at the younger ages, they need parents to come in and really be hands-on with the kids. So if you're one of those people that Taylor was referring to that wants a way to get involved, Art Lit is a great one. Next. Our outreach committee in its current form is pretty new, but it is really active, and like Taylor said, people in the community are really clamoring for ways to get out and volunteer with our children outside of the Bonnie Slope area. So some of the things they've been doing, they work with the Clothes Closet for the district. They go to the Oregon Food Bank. They do Northwest Children's Outreach, Children's Book Bank. They had a party where people were cleaning the books. That was great. They're going to do, hopefully, some Habitat for Humanity in the spring, and then at the end of the year, they're going to do marker recycling. So if you want to be involved and volunteer, that is a committee, and they post their Sign Up Geniuses on the blog and on my impact page, and those spots go really, really quickly. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you've marked your interests on my impact for the outreach committee, and then you'll get information about that. The newest committee, Karen is here, she runs that, but it's the pantry provisions, and this is what Mr. Hiller was talking about in terms of providing food for some of the families in our school that need extra food on the weekend. And so we need donations in terms of food for variety, diversity of food, but we also need people who want to go to the grocery store on Thursdays and take the list that Pantry Provisions Committee gives you and buy the food, and then you bring it to the school Thursday anytime, and Friday they pack it up. We also need volunteers to pack those backpacks, and I've heard they've got a whole system going on. They're they've got it down in their assembly line, so it's an easy in and out volunteer process. So sign up for that if you're interested. Here's some of the things we need: mac and cheese, spaghetti noodles and sauce, PB&J, canned fruit and meat, and rice.
Garden committee, everybody loves gardens, right? And so if you are interested, we're gonna be doing a cleanup at the end of February. Get out with your tools and weed the garden beds. And if you're interested in helping the classes get into the garden to plant, we're gonna be doing that all spring long, and it's really fun. It's a great way to get the kids outside, breathing the fresh air, learning about the gardens and composting and sustainability, and it's a great committee. Next, Science Night coming up. This is also another great committee that's like a one-time event. Anybody who has a kid who wants to participate, any grade, go online, fill out the form to let the organizers know that your kid is going to be involved. This committee has its own website with a lot of information. You probably saw the booklet that went home in the Friday folders, but there's a couple different options for the kind of science project your kid can do. That's all on that website, but if you're interested, please make sure. And we also need volunteers for that, people to go around and check the projects the night of, people to help set up, that kind of thing. So let the science committee know if you're interested in helping with that. And then future programs, we've got a Parent Ed Night on March 5th, which those have been really educational. So far we've had 2 this year that have been great, so come on down. We don't know the topic yet, but we'll try to get that out to you soon. Staff appreciation is, Hannah will probably share all of her, Hannah and Jenna are rocking that, but they always need donations and people to bring in food and beverages and that kind of thing, so keep a lookout for those things as they go on the blog. And then my husband's favorite, International Mother Tongue Language Day, I think that's what it's called, I don't know. My husband is Greek, and has anyone seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding? He is literally that dad who said every time my kid says something, he says Greek word, and he tries to explain it. And so last year he came into Mrs. Parks' class and gave a whole presentation on dinosaur names and how they're all Greek. This year he has a running note in his phone that's like all the Greek words about protagonists, all these reading words, so look out, Mrs. Hastings. But if anybody here speaks a second language and you would love to come in, they're going to be asking for volunteers shortly, so keep your eye out for that. The last thing I will say, I think that's my last slide, is that my final duty will be looking for new committee leads. And we said in the survey people have different levels of interest. There is a committee for you. If you just want to do a one-time event, there's a committee that you can run. If you want to be here every single day, there's a committee for you. If you have a friend that you want to do something with, there are committees where you can team up with somebody. If you want to be by yourself behind a computer, there is a committee for you. So, please, and also in terms of community and making, a fool of yourself, I'm doing it, right? I want everybody to know I'm here to answer your questions. I want you to be involved. I want you to feel like part of the community. And when I took over, just like Taylor said, I started as a first grade parent in my role, and I met so many people. I didn't know anybody. I thought, I couldn't be a director of committees because I didn't know a lot of people, and who was I going to connect with? And through the job, I got to know a lot of people and have developed a community here. So it could be director of community, but I just want you to not be intimidated to take one of these roles, because it really, there's no, you can get up here and just try your hardest, and everyone's going to love you, and submit 100 responses in the survey about how great you're going to be next year. So.
And you can't fire volunteers.
Yes.
Katie, make it so hard to follow you. But I'm going to piggyback on you. And so I'm Michelle, one of the director of volunteers, with my partner in crime, Stephanie Wilson. we also have an opening on the board for next year. This is Stephanie and my last year. So if you guys have any interest in talking to you guys as well on the live stream, if you guys have any interest at all in being involved on the BSCO board, it's really been, and I truly mean it, it's been great getting to know the board, more of the staff, and getting to know Janet more, on a one-on-one basis a little bit more. And you meet a bunch of the parents, and it's really been fulfilling. And then in my role with Director of Volunteers, having a partner to do it with has also been really nice. Just high level, if you are ever interested, you can always come talk to Stephanie and myself. But as a volunteer coordinator, we really, at a high level, we oversee the classroom and school-wide volunteer support. So it's pretty front-loaded. A lot of the work is done up front, and then it's sprinkled throughout the year. And we really just work with our volunteers to kind of let them hit the ground running, make sure they get their background checked and approved through the system, and volunteer orientation so they know what to expect and know what to do. We confirm our classroom coordinators and our party coordinators, and then we act as a liaison for them. It's a lot of fun. You get to know a lot of good people, and it's, as Katie was saying, there's room for everyone. We're here to help you feel comfortable in any setting. If you want to volunteer, maybe not in the Director of Volunteers role or on the board or as a committee lead, or if you just want to volunteer in the school, there's room for you. And if we want to make you feel comfortable volunteering at Bonnie Slope. So if you ever have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to come ask us. So to move on, to wrap this night up a little bit more, I just want to say thank you to our classroom coordinators and party coordinators, and also really to all of our volunteers, because it just helps the school year move smoothly with our students, and the teachers, and in the classrooms, and all the events that we have for them. So thank you guys very, very much for all of your time that you put into volunteering at Bonnie Slope. And we have, I'm almost done, I promise. Upcoming, we have our Valentine's Day party coming up on February 14th. So you guys will probably be hearing from your classroom coordinator shortly about details on that, but it will be on February 14th. The timing is what you'll understand from your classroom coordinator. And then I won't rehash the pancake breakfast and the auction and the pantry provisions, but those are other volunteer needs that are going on. If you just go into my impact page, you can see where our current volunteer needs are. So visit that often. Visit our volunteer page, BSCO, Bonnie Slope, BSCO.org. Thank you. That has volunteer needs on that as well. And then what is not up just yet, but we have our hearing screening and spring pictures coming up shortly, so you'll see a sign up for that coming up. But if you guys have any questions about volunteering, being a part of the BSCO board next year, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
Hey, good evening. I've been a little trigger happy with the slides tonight again, looks like. So my name is Jeff Cook. I am the Director of Communications, and I wanted to start by just reminding everybody the many different ways that BSCO connects with you and you can connect with BSCO. So the first one is our newsletter. We send that out every 2 weeks. You'll get that through an email that's sent through the school email system, but also you can sign up on our website, bonnieslopebosco.org, and receive the blog posts as they are posted directly into your email box. And there's also quite a few other resources on that website. If you're a new family to the area, there's a whole set of resources on what the programs are that are available at the school that the community organizes. There's the calendar that will let you know what's going on, and there's a contact us button if you have a question. In addition, we have a Facebook group for the BSCO organization. That's the first one listed here. In addition, there's a Facebook group for each grade level for which the levels that your students would be in. And so go ahead and join those groups, or I think you get an invite for that. I'm not quite sure how that works. And then lastly, we also have a Instagram feed that likewise advertises the events that we have happening that BSCO is organizing or whatnot. All right. Lastly, so Mr. Hiller was talking about kindness at Bonnie Slope, and we've been running a second run of a t-shirt, Kindness Matters at Bonnie Slope. This has been available to order since December on our website, and the t-shirts are $11. There's a variety of kids and adult sizes. We're planning to close that order at the end of this month on January 31st, so if you haven't ordered a t-shirt yet and you want one, please get your order in soon. And you can follow this link here, or just go to the website and you'll see the link for the store right there to get to the t-shirts. And that is the end of my section. All right, where are we at, Heather?
All right, so I am last, holding everyone up, so this will be quick. But I'm Heather, if I don't know you, the treasurer for this year. So everybody on their table should have a copy of the most current budget. Pretty much things are running as expected, but take a look at that. Happy to answer any questions or go into more detail. Teacher grants are being spent a little bit here and there. Teacher fund, teachers are using that money. One big thing we did kind of want to highlight that was put in this year's budget was a library refresh. So there's $5,000 to go towards getting new library books in for the kids. Just to refresh it, get a little more diverse books. So hopefully your kids are telling you that new books are coming in. So some of that money's been spent, and there'll be more spent in the spring as well to continue that refresh. But thank everyone for their time, and I'm happy to take any questions anybody has on the budget. We want to be transparent and open about it, so please let me know. Feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call.
So I guess nobody who checked the box that they wanted more about the meeting, money discussion or here today.
That's better.
You can take these with you.
Yes.
These are yours to keep. I actually have a pile.
You can add it all up yourself and make sure it all fits, and
No, I do not mean to mock the importance of being transparent. And I think I did not say this, but the BSCO bylaws, in order to support fiscal, fiduciary transparency and responsibility, require a vote for any expenditure or change in expenditure over $1,000. So I don't think I mentioned that, but that is part of the reason why we had the vote today. So just to let you know that we don't do things behind closed doors, and this is we follow our bylaws that our predecessors have laid out before us, and we do that to be responsible stewards of all the the resources that we're given. All right, so thank you. That concludes the 9 items on the agenda. Does anybody have questions? Anybody want to just hang out and chat for a little bit longer? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting? Thank you, Karen. See you guys in May at our last meeting. Thank you. Oh, if you have not, I think everybody signed in, but if you didn't, the clipboard's over here.